Okay, hello. We are live, everyone. Welcome to the third month in the Thorns and Roses-A-Long. Today we're going to be discussing A Court of Wings and Ruin, also known as ACOWAR, and A Court of Frost and Starlight, also known as ACOFAS. And we have two lovely guests today, Ms. Booksmore, Kristen G, and MelReads. If you guys want to introduce yourselves and give out your ratings for both books.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kristen. I am a recurrent person on Mel's channel because that's my homegirl. But what's up, y'all? I'm Kristen from Kristen G. I read a lot of fantasy, but I read all the other genres too, really. I gave ACOWAR 3.5 stars because it wasn't my favorite, but I'm here. We done.
Okay, and ACOFAS, what did you rate ACOFAS?
Oh, ACOFAS, I rated a 3-star.
Okay, cool. Mare?
Hi everyone, my name is Mare and I'm from the channel MelReads, and I gave ACOWAR 4 stars. It was actually my favorite out of the series upon reread, and I gave A Court of Frost and Starlight 3 stars.
Okay, interesting. Okay, well, this is my channel. Hello, everyone. My name's Mel. Hi, what's up? I have read the series way too many times. You guys know, I've said it before, but ACOWAR is the book that I've reread the least, and I have never read ACOFAS before. It's the first time that I have lowered my rating for ACOWAR, and this time around it was a 3.5, and ACOFAS was also a 3-star. So I'm there with Kristen. Okay, I see you, sis. But I think it's gonna be really interesting this time around to hear Mare's thoughts. Is this your first time reading ACOWAR, or it's a reread?
No, I read them all as they were getting published, so I have not read it in a super long time. So it was kind of like I was reading it for the first time, but yeah, it was a reread for me.
Same for me, Mare. I just tell people that was my first time reading ACOWAR because Mel was like, "You read ACOWAR before?" I was like, "But I can't tell you nothing that happened." I read it, and when I was on my Goodreads, I gave it a 4 stars the first time, and I was like, "Oh," so I guess I lowered it to 3.5 upon reread.
I actually raised mine from a 3-star originally.
3?
Interesting. Well, this is definitely something that I want to hear. But hi, everyone in the chat. How's everyone doing? Feel free to let us know your personal ratings for the book as well.
There's a lot of people who loved ACOWAR and say,
I know. I mean,
saying it's their favorite.
Yeah, this is not kind of like a new thing for me because I know a lot of people kind of dislike the first 2 books and then end up loving ACOWAR. So I feel like the 3 stars are going to be like the odd ones out. So see, we got a 5-star and a 3-star.
Over here, to give ACOWAR a 5-star. Where? Why?
Sis is gonna come against Blazin. She wants to know. Give her a reason.
I didn't give any of the ACOTAR books a 5-star. So
yeah, me either.
I only gave 5 stars to ACOMOF and ACOSOF. So everything else is below.
Yeah, I mean, ACOMOF was a 4.5, but it still wasn't that 5-star for me.
Yeah. This will be a spoilery stream on the second half. We will start out with some non-spoiler thoughts first, which also, let me put in the little banner. Okay, it's a spoiler-free section. People. Okay, we're getting fancy. Getting fancy. See, my favorite book in the series, Naima. Interesting. I'm ready. But okay, what are our non-spoiler thoughts while I start highlighting these comments? Do you guys have any favorite characters, any favorite scenes that you want to talk about in the spoiler-free section? How's Kristen going?
I mean, just overall thoughts, not getting into specifics of what was happening. But I guess my reasoning why this was not my favorite book is, one, because I just in general don't like books about war in general, a lot of battle scenes. I usually just skim through battle scenes in all books. I know it's weird because I love fantasy and obviously these battle scenes, every fantasy book. Yeah. I just be skimming oh, who gonna die? Who gonna make it through? That's just me. So, and then obviously I know this book is about war. It's kind of in the title. Kind of war, ACOWAR, but Wings and Ruin. Anyway, but that's one of the reasons. And then the ending just wasn't satisfying enough for me. It wasn't devastating enough, I guess. I just expected, given that it was the 3rd book in the series, that more stuff would have went down. If you know what I mean. Since we're not spoiling yet, but I'll get to that later about what exactly I was what.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like there could have been a little bit more in terms of resolution, but for me, I love political intrigue. I love action scenes.
Yeah.
And while I like the romance, it's not my favorite romance I've ever read in a fantasy series. So it's not like ride or die for me. And so when there was less romantic elements and more political intrigue, that was definitely more interesting and engaging for me. And I also just really loved how the characters grew in this story, especially Feyre. I love where she started in this book and ended up. It was so good.
Yes, I definitely agree with the both of you. I think ACOWAR is an interesting one because we already know that ACOTAR is not the strongest in regards to plots. It's very character driven. So I feel where the plot shines the most is in ACOWAR, and that's that I personally liked. And like Mare said, Feyre's journey in this book, like the badassery in this book, like we love it, Feyre. We love it. Like Feyre in the first 100 pages blew my freaking mind, still blows my mind upon every reread. I love those first 100 pages. I love, and we'll get into it later, the High Lord meeting. Love all of it. So I definitely loved her journey and where she ends up in this book. I think my main complaint, and I will rant about this, this book was so plot convenient that it just blows my mind.
Exactly. That's why I was like, I'm not satisfied at the end. I was like, huh? Because it was looking like a 4-star, but that ending was like,
yes. So, like, also, the political intrigue, incredible. The war scene, fantastic. But in regards to conflict, I just felt like we got 2 pages of conflict, and then by the third, it was resolved. I was like, wait, this cannot be solved in the span of 3 pages. Like, please.
And I think that for me, like, I love plot-driven books, and I'm really not much of a character type book reader. But in this series, just because it has been so heavily character-based in this series specifically, I have been more loving the characters in this book. So since ACOWAR was more plot-driven, I was kind of just like, where are my people at? Like, where they in the circle? Where they at? Like, come on. So I feel like that also added to that, the fact that it was plot driven.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, again, this is not spoilers. This is literally the very first page, like the first chapter. I at least think the very first chapter did a fantastic job to set out the rest of the book, because that very first chapter is just like Rhysand in the First War fighting. And you see the bloodshed, the fighting, and that just kind of sets you up for what is to follow in the book. So I will say, writing wise, probably if I take aside the plot is convenient and the conflict just got solved too easily, I think writing wise, out of the 3, this one would probably be the best one. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything else that we can get into, like spoiler free, because the way that I just need to I just need to go into this book like so freaking much. Like also Team Nesta, I just have to say it right off the bat, like, you know what to freaking expect out of the 3 of us, because we all love Nesta. Like, Nesta was definitely one of my highlights from this book. The relationship that she formed with Amren in this book, 10 out of 10. I expected.
I love their relationship. It's so
and
great.
Just her growth, and this is something that'll be like an arc with this and the ACOFAS live show, but her growth towards the end of the book, when I'm not gonna say words, but when she goes,
yes,
freaking iconic. The meeting, yes, the meeting.
We also need to talk about Tamlin, because of what you was saying the other day about you want to see his redemption arc. And I'm sorry,
okay, but you know what started this? This book started me wanting to see a redemption arc.
I know why you would want a redemption arc.
I'm good without one. Yeah,
I'm like, no, just can't. And then reading ACOFAS in that one chapter where Rhysand and Tamlin are together too.
Yeah.
I'm still like, nope.
Okay, so like going a little bit into ACOFAS, because I think we're gonna have to talk about it like in tandem with like ACOWAR. ACOFAS to me felt like a Hallmark special.
Okay. Yeah. Period. Okay,
how does it start? Like, I think it's the very first page that bothered me. It's like Feyre waking up, or like, yeah, the first snow of winter had begun whipping through Valaris an hour earlier. It just felt like that first scene in a Hallmark movie when they look up and it's like, it's Christmas. Yeah. That's what it felt like. And I was just like, this is not typical SJM, and I don't know where this is coming from. Right. Kristen's like, no.
I was like, what is this over here? winter solstice and Feyre's birthday. I was like, I don't care what gift she gets for her 21st. I do not care.
I kind of liked it, but at the end of the day, I was like, what was the point of reading?
Yeah.
Like Hallmark vibes, but I think I would have preferred to actually have read it around Christmas.
I agree.
Like around my birthday, you know, like
yeah, like you know when you read books during Christmas and it's like I'm not being critical, I'm just here to enjoy some books.
Like just like I spent this whole year reading to criticize and analyze these books. I finally enjoy books to enjoy them. So
I know. I will say though, ACOFAS definitely does a good job, even though it's not the best book, at kind of establishing the conflict for ACOSOF, because I've already read ACOSOF, and the way that I went into it, and there were just things that I was just like, huh, wait, when did this happen? I was just like surprised if I had read ACOFAS.
Oh yeah, because you read ACOFAS after.
Yes. I wouldn't have been as confused, I guess, with the start of ACOSOF. So I'd say it's definitely helpful to read that first before going into it. However, did it need to get published physically? Absolutely freaking not. Like it, you know how The Pale Dreamer, like the novella for the Bone Season, is only published as an ebook? I feel like ACOFAS could have been that too.
Okay, and I'm returning my ebook. Like I read it. Give my $8 back, please.
Oh my God. Naeem is ready to reread, okay? Ready to go. Team Nesta, let's go. Okay, Stan Nesta Archon. Okay, you already know. My highlight for this book is the meeting for sure. I really want to talk about that meeting and the spoilers section. Like I'm just ready to go into it. Everyone's raving about the meeting. I'm telling you, it's definitely one of the best scenes in this book. Like, just fantastic. Nesta's attitude is never it. Like we've been through this. Nesta's just
Nesta needs some therapy. Okay, that's just all.
Yes,
that's all.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Naima. Thank you for being my one supporter in the chat and in the live stream. And I will get into exactly why Kristen leaving. Once we get into spoilers, I'll go into exactly why I'd like a redemption arc for Tamlin, and I feel like somehow, some way, it's gonna come because it's just been mentioned too many times.
I just reading about him. Like ACOTAR is pointless, and it's all just Tamlin. So I'm good.
Yeah,
we can definitely go into theories at the very end for ACOSOF if you guys want, because sure, I have all of my theories written down from before I read ACOSOF, so I can go into them.
Right, I was like theories since you've already read them. We can talk about it. Make sure your theory ain't right, you know.
No. I'm the theories that I had before the book. Okay.
Like aka spoiler.
That's what it felt like. But honestly, I did enjoy my time. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I definitely at the end I was like, is this a 4-star? Like, is this a 3-star? And then in hindsight, I was like, this can't be a higher rating than ACOWAR, like realistically speaking. So I read ACOFAS the day it came out. It was a novella.
Oh no.
Not
anticipating that novella just for it to be a fanfic.
I know. However, I feel like Sarah backtracked with her character in ACOFAS. She didn't seem like herself. I understand her trying to delve into her PTSD, but it didn't seem genuine. Again, I feel like Nesta started progressing after the events from the Cauldron, and by the end of the book, it was just added more trauma to what she went through. So she definitely needed to backtrack.
Backtrack because she wasn't even all the way healed from everything else, the Cauldron and stuff. So all that happened at the end of ACOWAR, she was like, oh hell no. She was like, what?
I mean, can you imagine experiencing war for the first time? Like you'd never seen it before, you'd only heard about it, and being like an active hand.
Her role in that ending.
She definitely needed to backtrack a little bit, especially with what happened in ACOWAR, which we can talk about later. But I definitely think that her progression was very natural.
Yeah, I also agree. But also this, she really just wanted us to know how they celebrate winter solstice. Okay, she was just like, okay, has won this snowball fight 199 times. I was like, okay,
right. I was like, okay.
I was like, sure. As someone who likes Hallmark movies and read ACOFAS in winter, I can say I never needed an SJM.
Oh no,
sure,
we didn't need it.
Yeah,
we needed it.
We really didn't. Sarah was pressured to release a book after ACOWAR, so she just popped this out. Interesting. That makes sense because to me, I definitely halfway through, I was like, this feels kind of ghost written. So it's interesting.
ACOWAR was released in 2017, right? So 2021 now is 4 years. I could see it, you know. It's like, listen, lady.
Yeah. When you're under contract,
Wait a minute. What happened to the characters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was hating hard on Tampon, but there was a page that made me feel bad for him. And I was like, oh, no. Don't you dare shed a tear for that.
I actually feel that. I felt bad for him at one point, and I was like, no, take it back. Like, you can't feel bad for him.
Okay, but also this is the part that I cared the least in ACOFAS.
Okay.
The least.
I was like, okay, Anne.
I was like, I mean, Rachel said this perfectly on our ACOMAF live stream where she said, you know how somebody says like, oh my God, I paint and they only know how to draw anime eyes? That's exactly what Farrah seems like. So I did not care for her painting.
She really pushed the painting in the ACOFAS. She was like, I painted everybody something for winter solstice. Here you go.
I know, right? Like she was hauling them portraits and not being able to. She was like, oh, this is heavy. Here you go. Huh? Sure. There will be an ACOSOF live stream. It'll be in March on the very last weekend. So I think that's also on the 28th because it falls like exactly a month afterwards. So yes, Tamlin doesn't need a redemption arc. Everyone can be likable in this book. That is true. But SJM loves these characters, so I wouldn't put it past her to write a redemption arc for Tamlin. Maybe not an entire book, but somewhere in there having some sort of redemption arc.
I feel like it might be touched upon just because how many times, like, why else would he, why else did she make him be good?
Yeah.
She had ulterior motive.
I also love this Atla reference. Not everyone can be Zuko. I love that. And that's true though. Not everyone can be Zuko. Tamlin can die. He done his damage played as Ananwampo. Sir, no, please leave. Okay. She said what she said. I agree, not everyone can be likable, but I feel like with SJM, there is always clear lines between who is a villain and who isn't. I agree. Nicole, I need to know your theory. Again, everyone will drop their theories later in the chat once we go into the spoiler section, which I feel honestly can be right about now because we just need to crack into it. Okay, I'm going to take this banner away because I just need to. I hate Ianthe. Welcome, everyone. This is the spoiler section. If you have not read the book, please leave. But if you want to be spoiled, be welcome to stay. I freaking hate Ianthe. And I love that her hand was freaking destroyed with a rock. Okay? She deserved more. She deserved to freaking die. And that's all I'm going to, that's not all I'm going to say about Ianthe because I wrote everything down. Because first of all, one, not poor Lucian sleeping with Ianthe and Kalenmai because Tamlin didn't want to do it. But also, not Ianthe expecting everyone to be grateful after everything that went down with Highburn because the mating bond with Elaine and Lucian came out of it. I'm like, sis, that's like running somebody over with your car and saying, I only broke your leg.
Yeah.
I was like, girl, what? Leave. And then she gonna come back in the end and be like, found you. Girl, die.
Okay, waiting for it. I was like, Farrah, bash her head in. I don't care about the hand. The hand's too generous.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite moments from Farrah in this entire book. I was like, yes, please do worse to her. Like, honestly, that moment made me sympathize for Lucian like so much, which I kind of already liked him as a character. I didn't love him, but I'm definitely more interested in hearing about his story. So to see her like kind of take that protective mode and really go in on her, I was like, yes, queen, period.
Yeah, because I was not the biggest fan of Lucian. I mean, in like ACOWAR, but then like hearing his story and just like realizing the place that he had at Spring Court, I was just like, I kind of understand why he was the way he was in ACOTAR. And then he did come through for Farrah in ACOWAR and stuff. So I was like, okay, I like you.
Yeah. I will also say one of my favorite scenes in this book is I can't remember it was some sort of solstice right at the beginning where Ianthe's like, the sun's going to hit me because I'm the most powerful priestess and I am cauldron blessed and whatever, and the sun doesn't hit her. I was like, you getting what you deserve, sis?
I was dying. Huh? And then Farrah used her powers, right, to put it on her said. I was like, period, okay? Because she really thought.
Okay, like Farrah using her powers in those first 100 pages of like her playing her little scheme in the spring court. I was living for it. That one moment where she cries and it's like, these are Tarquin seawater tears. I was like, serious? Let all the water go. All of it. I freaking loved it. I just loved seeing that side of Farrah. See this part, but just seeing Farrah own up to the role that she has now as a high lady and just completely break apart the spring court was some of my favorite things to see. But also, you can see how flawed Farrah is for doing that because she did not think that through. And we see that in that High Lord meeting when everyone's like, sis, you completely destroyed them. And that has left an open part for Hybern to come in and destroy everyone. So, you know, revenge was done, but at what cost? So I think it definitely raises like interesting conversation about revenge. I really liked it.
Yeah, I was to say, I really like how it's like, okay, Farrah's a main character and she has every right to kind of like get revenge on Tamlin in the spring court. But I think she just did too much, you know? She did way too much because now everybody in Prithian is facing the consequences because this war, they need all the help they can get. They're like, well, the spring court don't trust Tamlin no more. So y'all done lost them.
Yes. Yes to all of it. I mean, the spring court, I don't even know like what to think of it. It's like, I mean, it's up for grabs. Anybody can literally take over that territory but Tamlin. And I think it was also really interesting for the first time to see Aerys in this book, which again, Aerys is a character that we will see a lot of in ACOFAS. If you don't like him, sorry, but you're going to see him in ACOFAS too. But it was interesting to see because I had completely forgotten about this, that Aerys was actually the one who helped Lucian escape and gave Tamlin the word that like Lucian was going, like, please welcome him and like, you know, keep him safe. So it's kind of interesting to hear that part of it as well with Lucian's character. But I mean, Lucian for the entirety of the series, and again, even in the book that we will discuss in March, I just feel like Lucian at this point is just there. He's just there. And I don't even know if I want him to truly be with Elaine.
I don't want him to be from ACOWAR. I'm like, listen, that needs to just go away because they don't want it. None of them, neither of them really want it. Lucian wants it, but he's just like, only because of the mating bond.
Yeah,
like, I don't like
himself. Like, he doesn't need a mate.
He doesn't need, especially because his whole background. I'm like, he don't need a mate. He just needs to be with him. He just needs to heal and learn about who Lucian is and not be attached to any other person. Okay, he needs to be with himself.
And I think that'd be such an interesting arc to read about too. Is just, I feel like he's already grown so much in the books that I've read. And so if he gets more time just to work on himself, I think he could be like a phenomenal character, especially because he is so flawed. But you have this understanding of why he is that way, which is, I just love his character. I don't necessarily love him. I just think he's one of the most interesting ones to talk about and read about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I agree with Kristen. Like, Lucian is one of those characters that has been so attached to everyone else, like first attached to Tamlin because of like, again, all of the ordeal that Tamlin saved him. So he felt like he was in his like debt. And again, there's a lot of toxicity that comes with that friendship. And then he attached himself to Farrah when he went to the Night Courts. I think it'd just be interesting to see Lucian do his own thing and discover who he is as a person and his own motivation, because I feel he's been serving people for so long that he doesn't even understand who he is.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree with that.
I mean, everybody's saying in the comments about who his real daddy is.
Okay, I forgot about that. I don't know why I always forget in every single reread that Helion is his father. And it makes so much sense.
Yeah, so it's like once he finds that out, he's going to be even more confused about who he is because he thinks Baron is his dad. But it's like, no, he's not. So, that was like one of the most shocking things in this book to me was that part. Because then it just, again, adds to the complexity of Lucian's character. I was like, damn. And then hearing about his mom's background, I was like, ooh.
Mm-hmm. I know. But also this thing, I need Azriel and Elaine to be a thing, but I don't even know where SJM's gonna take the whole like Azriel, Elaine, Lucian thing, because yes, it'd be interesting to see Lucian get like his happy ending after everything that has gone down. but will she pull out the mate thing 3 times in a row? Like, I don't know about that. Like, I don't know.
I feel like she has to have some sort of alternate plan in mind, because you can't trust Sarah with who the love interest actually is. So I think she doesn't actually want her to end up with Lucian, and I don't honestly want them together either. So I'll be completely fine if she takes it a different route.
Yeah, I think it'd be an interesting route for her to explore, like, because again, we've seen the topic before with Reese's parents of like, yes, they were mates, but they were not ideal for each other. So it would be really interesting to see a case scenario in her books where the thing of choice comes up again, of like, you choose who you want to be with, not necessarily who you were destined to be with. So that's where I'd love to see like Elaine and Asriel come in, but I really don't know where it's going. And this too, like, Elaine doesn't hate Lucian. She just hates the nature of their relationship, because she was engaged to Grayson and she wanted to marry Grayson. So she kind of yearns for that relationship that she can't.
I think Elaine, she's also struggling, just as Nesta is struggling with the trauma from the cauldron. Elaine is also struggling. We definitely saw that in ACOWAR when she was just like not trying to talk to nobody. But it's also because she got that part of her taken away, her human life. She was going to marry Grayson or whatever. I don't know why, but she was going to marry him. And so that just got taken away from her. And she's delicate. She don't know how to deal with that type of reaction.
I mean, this part, like, Elaine so far doesn't really like have a personality besides tending to her garden.
Okay.
So I really need her to like step out of her freaking shell and like do something for a change.
Yeah.
Which she did at the end of the book. I mean, she literally came behind the King of Hybern and she was like, bye, sis. Okay? And with Truth Teller. With freaking Truth Teller. I need to go into that in like the theory section, because Asriel would never freaking give anyone Truth Teller. And we see that in freaking ACOFAS. Okay? I just have so many thoughts on that. But I wrote down page 43. I don't even know what page 43 has. So let me
I'm not writing down page 43.
Yeah, that's probably because I have a long note, or maybe it's just like a quote or something, but like page 43. Oh, yeah. This is this is just me raving about the freaking light thing in the solstice and it not hitting a Yanthe.
Oh.
Okay, the whole thing about Bofera, Cursebreaker, who had led Prithian from tyranny and darkness, blessed, holy, undeeming before evil. I let my glow spread until it too rippled from Lucian's bowed form, a night before his queen. When I looked at Yanthe and smiled again, I let a little bit of the wolf show. I freaking loved that so much, okay? But also, I was ready to throw hands with Miss Feyre, because I was like, you're just going to make Tamlin kill Lucian, huh? Because the whole thing of like her going into Lucian's bedroom and being like, sorry,
I had a nightmare about that. I was like, what is
that
this?
Part was weird. What was that?
I was like, what is this? Like,
okay. It was Feyre scheming and trying to make Tamlin jealous. I was like, you're out here trying to make Tamlin kill Lucian, huh?
Yeah, I was just like, what was the purpose of that scheme? Like,
it just made me uncomfortable. I was like, why are we doing this?
Yeah, it had nothing to do with like getting revenge on Tamlin or the Spring Court. It was just like, I'm about to make him upset for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, and this comes in so many times. Like again, with that one scene with the son, she was like specifically with Lucian, like the night, like kneeling before his queen and whatever. I'm like, sis, let Lucian do his thing, okay? Just leave him be before you get him killed, because I cannot with you right now. But also, the twins. I need to get into the twins real quick. I can't even remember their names anymore, but the Daimati twins. The way that Feyre was so freaking confident that she drove them away from the conflict, and she was like, I got this, I'm a freaking queen. And they're like, oh, but we knew all along what you were trying to do. So like, you have one brain cell, sis. I was like, yeah, you really do. The twins were speaking reason. I like the twins. I'm not gonna lie. Kristen's like, who are the twins again?
No, I know who the twins are. I just thought they were weird. Remember when I was like, why the hell are they in the same room? They're siblings. Like, they requested the same room.
Okay, that was weird. They would
I don't know what's going on there.
Type shit with that one. I was like, wait.
I'm not here for that. I'm not here for it. Y'all can have your different rooms and still be in the mind or whatever y'all was doing.
Yeah. It was an odd one. I feel like I'm the only one who wants Az and Elaine together, but like I don't want Lucian to be heartbroken and sad all the time. See, that's why I feel like there will be some sort of like love square happening if there is an Elaine book. Like I just feel there will be so many moving parts on that one with like Azriel and like Elaine and Lucian. She's probably gonna throw another person in there just for the sake of like, again, conflict. And then I don't know how she's gonna pull it off, because I'm guessing there's gonna be an Elaine book. Like at this point, you have to make a book for each of the sisters.
I know, but like Elaine is so bland.
Yeah.
What the hell was that? Was
no.
that scared the living crap out of me?
I was like, huh?
Hey, that felt like the horror movies when something really like jumps at you. Woo!
That's how I feel about an Elaine book, though. I really
Gosh.
Oh my God. But also, I just wrote down page 121. This is the one moment where Mr. Cassian just falls from the sky and like, again, freaking saves Farah.
Oh, that was one of, I was like, perfect.
Freaking iconic. A shadow slammed into the earth before us, cracking the ice towards every horizon. Not a shadow, an Illyrian warrior. I was like, yes, tell him, Cassian, tell him who you are. And then she starts crying because she starts seeing Cassian. She's like, Cassian. I was like, yes, I freaking love you. Okay, I freaking love all of you. Not a three-way. A polyamorous relationship between Elaine, Az, and Lucian. That'd have been, I don't know how that's going to work out. I don't see Elaine. I don't see Elaine being in a freaking threesome.
Right.
So,
Elaine is going to be like, I'm good, bro.
yeah.
I don't want neither of y'all, honestly.
I was thinking this while I was reading. When they were reaching out with their powers, you know, have any of you read Twilight? You have, Mare.
Yeah, I read the first book.
Okay, so somewhere in Twilight, a set of twins pop up that have powers, and the way that it literally reminded me of the Daimati, like people who know Twilight, they know.
Yeah,
And,
you mean an eclipse, right?
Hmm?
Are you talking about an eclipse, like when they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like Jane, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else like the Russian fairy tale influence, Vasa, Firebird, Cachet, whatever? There's a Russian fairy tale influence.
I didn't know that.
That's the first one that I have heard of. So that's interesting. But no matter how Farah has come, no matter how far Farah has come at that point, she doesn't have the 500 years of experience in Warcraft. The rest of the characters do. It's realistic things won't always go her way. I definitely agree. She was trying to pull some Rhysand ass scheme with that one. She's like, I'm gonna be like my mate, and it's
right. And it's like in ACOFAS when even Rhysand was like, hold up, she's literally just turning 21.
I know.
So I was like, yeah, she really has been alive for about as long as I've been alive. So I don't know how to either.
Yeah, but also now that we're in the subject of like Elaine, Lucian, and like the mating bond, I don't know why in my head this has always like made sense to me. Nesta, again, because she took something from the cauldron, I've always been like, she's so adamant in denying the bond between Elaine and Lucian. And in my head, it's like, could she possibly know that this mating bond is like a ruse? Like, is it not going to happen? I even thought at one point in this book, and I still do think so, that maybe the mating bond was something that the King of Hybern kind of like messed with their minds with to make them think that they were mates. But I don't know, because we saw that one moment in ACOWAR where Lucian starts like tugging at the bond to like talk to Elaine. But I think it'd be really interesting for it to be like a lie all along. That would be a nice twist.
I really like that theory, actually. That's a galaxy brain moment right there.
What a galaxy brain moment. I can't with you, Mare. But yeah, I literally was thinking that throughout the entirety of my read. I was like, what if the King of Hybern just messed with them in those last few moments and made them think that they were mates just for the sake of messing with them?
I love that theory so much. I'm going to hold on to hope for that.
I honestly would love that. Because Azriel, I don't know, there's just such like a synchronicity between Azriel and Elaine, even in this book. Like he just knows what's going on in her head. He just knows like what to do and how to treat her in a way that Lucian doesn't even understand. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, there's a deep understanding there, whether because their personalities are similar or because he just understands the essence of Elaine. But I need it to be true. I need it to be true. I suggest you drop my lady. Okay, Cassian is freaking iconic. The way that she unveils the freaking tattoo and she's like, you saw it right. Okay, you saw it here first.
No, Cassian is such a great character. And I love Cassian and Nesta. Like, obviously I haven't read Silver Flames yet, so I don't know where that's gonna go, but I heard it's real good. Anyways, but I like their little banter that they have because it's like nobody likes Nesta but Cassian and Amryn, you know, and it's like I love that.
I love their banter, especially in
it's just like
acronyms mixed up the novella.
Right. That's why I call it Silver Flames, because I can't.
Yeah. But this though, I'm gonna say it right now. I'll regret it like 5 years from now for saying this on the internet, but like, you know how Asriel is so freaking silent? You already know those are the freakiest ones. 1 and 2. Okay, and 2, heavy alpha energy, right? You already know when As snaps, he gonna snap. So this is
we saw him kind of snapping in the High Lords meeting where he got like
okay, wait. I'm trying to go in order right now, but like the way that you just triggered a memory in me, let's just get into that freaking High Lord meeting before I backtrack, because when freaking Baron and Eris start going at it with more, and Asriel just literally freaking snaps and like flies across the room, and he's like, I'm gonna beat you the F up, okay? I was like, tell him, As. I'd never seen Asriel like that frazzled. I was there for that.
Right.
That was just too much. Yeah, she's 24, 23 because Farah is like 20 something. Elaine.
Oh, Elaine.
Yeah, because I think she's a year younger than Nesta. I can't remember. I really can't remember.
That's so true. Like Nesta and Elaine are her older sisters. So.
Yep. I know. I definitely was freaking always forget. But
yeah. Just because she obviously does more for the family.
Yeah. Also, something that I forgot in this book that I kind of enjoyed, it's like a little Easter egg moment. It's just freaking Callias's wife. What's her name? Vivienne.
Like,
the way she's so freaking friendly with Moore. I was like, look at Moore having one friend.
Right.
I was like, sis needs some company. Sis needs some sort of friends. And I just really want them to carry out that friendship because it's healthy. Look at them.
Yeah, and I liked Vivienne or whatever her name was. I liked her character.
Yeah.
Like she also held power, even though she's not like a high lady, you know, she still felt confident enough to like speak up during the meeting as well.
What was the present? I need to know what he threw in the river. This is about ACOFAS and debunked right here. I can't tell you. You find out in ACOSOF. This is about the gift that he gave Nesta in ACOFAS. That she didn't take. He threw the box in the river. We find that out in ACOSOF.
I'm gonna need to pick it up right now. Oh my gosh.
We do. I literally wrote down, what point was it? I can't remember. I was just like, page something, the box. I was like, because again, I read it afterwards. I was like, the box. I know what it means. So there's a little cute moment right there. We do find out in ACOSOF, but I also really love seeing in that High Lord meeting how being under the mountain affected each and every one of them, because it affected all of them in so many different ways, and like trading, again, like very political, like just everyday like things, like whether it was trading, whether it was that everything was closed down, and like I just found it so freaking interesting to see them all talk about under the mountain. And it was also heartbreaking to hear about how they personally had to leave some of their mates behind, and they had to stay locked up under the mountain. Can you imagine that, being 50 years apart from your freaking mates, especially being that possessive?
Yeah, but I also thought, was it Vivienne who wasn't under the mountain, or like there was some? I thought it was interesting how like in other courts there were also the High Lords were also protecting like their loved ones. Like it wasn't just recent. Yeah. Like everybody was like, I don't want you to be under the mountain with me, so they did what they had to do. So that was interesting.
No, yeah, I agree. I think it's that moment where I went, oh my God, that's so like heartbreaking, but like also so cool that, again, Rhysand is not like the end all be all savior of all, which I mean, he kind of is, but he wasn't the only one who did everything to protect his people. And I just love, again, Callias, how he sent the message to Vivienne, and he was like, look everything up, please put like the barrier, like, you know, every single strategy thing that we do to like protect our people. And Vivienne was like, I have you, you know, right. I got you.
Right.
So I really did like how we found that out.
Mhm.
Amren, I'm iffy about Amren now. If we really want to get into that later, I loved Amren at first, and I mean, I do love the relationship quote unquote that she developed with Nesta. But do I love Amren? No. No.
I was upset that she came back. I was like, why is it like that's part of the ending? I was like, huh? Why is she back? Like,
okay, we'll get into that later. Like, let's just wrap up with the like freaking meeting thing because I started shedding tears. I'm not gonna lie, with Nesta's speech at the meeting when she was like, "Are you really gonna sit on your ass and do nothing?" When like my sister and I were thrown into a cauldron and we literally came back as something that we did not want, and you guys have done nothing on it. You better like step it up, put on your high lord pants, and do your thing. I literally shed some tears in that part. I think that was the first moment because again, we'd seen Nesta be so reluctant for the entirety of the book, and like they wanted to make her like the courtier, like the messenger between the humans and whatever. When she comes up and she's like, that's the moment of realization of like I can do more than what I set out for myself. So I really like that moment for Nesta. I mean, Amren being a badass, I feel like Amren should have stayed dead.
Okay. That would have made her more like that character. Like, dang, she really just gave it up to save the war and blah, 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 blah. Make sure they won. Because she didn't want to be in that body no more anyway.
Okay, that part. Like, that thing. Oh my God. Do I really
like, you bring her back just for the sake of Amren and Varian to have a relationship? Because if so, like, I don't really care.
Hey, okay, I'm triggered. We'll get into it. Okay, first things first. Here we go. This book being too plot convenient. Okay, so Durian and Tamlin are good. And they've been bad for like the entirety of a book. Why are they suddenly good? Let them be bad for conflict. Don't just turn them around for the sake of like everything turning out okay for your characters. I don't care. I want pain. I want tears. I need somebody to freaking die. So let them be bad. And then after that, Rhysand dies, which I mean, it's been foreshadowed that he was like going to die. It was foreshadowed very early on. And like they do the reverse Feyre. Okay, that's fine. Sis needs her happy ending. And then freaking Amren goes into the cauldron. Okay. And then she dies. And Rhysand's like, as my last act of good, I reached the hand into the cauldron and I pulled you out.
Let her come back. And she said, sure.
What? Let her freaking die. Amren has served her purpose. Amren has nothing left to do at this point, but literally have sex with freaking Varian. Let her die.
Like, the whole purpose of her in ACOWAR was to figure out like how to whatever break the cauldron or whatever she was doing. And then after all the cauldron was broken, and she was like, okay, bye everyone.
She literally came back and she's like, I'm back. I still hate it here. I'm like, just
like, oh no. Why did she do that?
No,
okay, her happy ending could have been a grave. Like,
not a grave. Oh my God.
That's her happy ending. She was
she fulfilled she saved the world. What else could you want? That's the happiest ending you could get.
For real. I definitely agree. Someone had to die. Like, this might be controversial. I don't care if it was Rhys that had to die. Like, if there needs to be someone just needs to die for emotional impact. Like, why did I read books in a series if I don't feel attached to, like, it just would have had so much more of a difference. And I might have actually cried in this book if someone actually like dipped out, but it was very convenient.
That's what I was saying. I was like, oh, heck yeah, we got this big battle. Ain't no way all
exactly.
10 characters is gonna survive this. Like, there's just no way.
Okay. Like,
I was like, oh, what? Not everybody's surviving.
I know, right? Like, Cassian's about to die and he gets saved by Nesta. I love that moment, by the way.
Like, he's gonna survive, obviously, because so many things. So I was like, okay, that's whatever.
Yeah. I love that moment where Nesta saves him because like again, that's her do-gooder moment of like, I can't let him die for whatever she feels in that moment of like saving him. I love that moment. And
like,
then and then we see Elaine come in with Truth Teller and kill the King of Hybern. That's fantastic. But again, Cassian almost dies. Freaking Feyre almost dies. Freaking Rhysand almost dies. Freaking Nesta almost dies. Oh, why the almost?
Yeah.
just let somebody freaking die. I don't care who it is. Like the only person who died was the father, who we barely got to see. And I mean,
I was like, okay, I don't care. Like they didn't even have that perfect relationship anyway to be like, dang, like they lost one man that cares about them. Like, no, they didn't even get the chance to fix that relationship.
Yeah, that was like the worst character who could have died, because there's such a strained relationship that he has with his daughters. And so it's like, am I really that sad that he's gone? Like, yeah, that really sucks for Farah and all her sisters. But at the end of the day, like, there's no emotional impact because they have such conflicting feelings towards him.
Yes. You know, I got teary-eyed when the dad came up with like all the ships, and it's like, and Drakon, is that his name? Drakon and Miriam, they were just telling them like, yeah, like we found this human person with like 3 ships, the Nesta, the Elaine, and the Farah. I was like,
that was cute. That's why I was like upset that he died, because it was like, obviously he figured it, he fixed whatever was going on in his brain, and he was ready to have a relationship with his daughters again, which I guess Sarah was like, oh, but I'm gonna kill him, so we're not gonna even see that. So I guess I get it in that aspect, but it just didn't do it for me. I was like, I didn't really care for the father.
Yeah, I just saw a comment. This one, Colleen, this is interesting because honestly speaking, I would have loved to see Tamlin die in this book, especially if he no longer serves his purpose beside being a punching bag for the rest of the series. I would have loved to see him die and see what emotional impact that had on Farah afterwards, and maybe even sacrificing himself for Farah and like accepting that like we were not meant to be, but like this is my last act of like redemption.
Yes. That would have been, I would have been so happy with that ending for Tamlin.
Yeah.
Because it's like, no, he doesn't deserve any forgiveness about what he's done up to that point. But if he was like, I understand that I don't deserve it, but like in my last act of trying to show you that like I'm sorry, like, you know?
See, I want to disagree here. I think that he just shouldn't have been redeemed, because imagine if his character arc was redeemed and then he died in battle, how would Farah deal with that? Like, she would be a mess for months and months. Like, I feel like it would have put so much more emotional strain on her. So I'm team just kill Tamlin. We don't need the redemption arc. Skip that.
Right. I don't need the redemption part, but I feel like it still would have been like a nice little ending for him. You know, because Sarah and her little happy endings, like that could have been his happy ending.
Yeah, I definitely see both sides of it. I think maybe getting that little moment of like maybe him saving Rhysand out of his own free will rather than Farah having to beg him to save Rhysand would have been nice for his character, but not just make him unlikable for the rest of it. Because even in ACOFAS, we see him being like all bitter still and like loving Farah, and it's like, okay, you can love her, but you can also accept that you are not good for her, and that is something that Tamlin still to this day, after how many pages, 1,000 some pages, he still has not realized. And it's like, you need to snap out of it, boy. Like, you're a grown-ass man, and you need to realize the toxicity that you provided and still have towards this relationship.
Also, why does he even like Farah? Like, where's their chemistry? What reason to root for them? He's just wanting to like own her and like have the relationship with her, but actually not put in the work and care.
Okay, like get over it. Like the fact that he's still like, is like, you took my woman and all these things. I'm just like, but obviously she didn't like you.
Yeah, like I really don't understand it. Like, I don't understand how they fell in love because no chemistry, but like also Farah's like Farah, she's like whatever. Like, why do you even love her? She's not that special, bro. Yeah. Like, she was not that special to begin with. Like, I'm sorry, but like, you know, that sex must have been hella good for you still to be so hung up on her. Because
I'm like, you're a high lord, you can have another girl.
You can go out there and find your mate if you actually got up your ass.
Yeah, like, your mate's out there.
I think he probably just was so invested in the original prophecy or whatever, where he was thinking like Farah had to be the one because she was the one who killed the fairy in the very beginning. So he probably was just projecting that onto her and wanting it to be true. It doesn't mean he should have persisted. 3 books in, get over it, man.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But I will say, I think the one moment in this book that made me feel for Tamlin, I think it was during the High Lord meeting where Rhysand was like, for the first time, I do see and I do recognize that maybe we've just been villainizing Tamlin all along and seeing all the bad instead of seeing what he tried to do and seeing like the flip side of the coin. And I think that's the moment where I went, you know what? I wouldn't really mind seeing him be redeemed in whatever way it happened. Not necessarily like having his own book, because I really wouldn't read that, but at least at some part of the story to like have his own redemption arc. I really would kind of like to see it. I'm not gonna lie.
I think it would have been interesting too to see this from a third perspective instead of Farrah's perspective, because we see Tamlin through her eyes, and also something that kind of bothers me is seeing Rhys through her eyes, because he's just so perfect. And I know he has like layers to him, but I'm kind of like, can this man do no wrong? Like, he has to have some sort of character flaws here. And so I think a different narrative structure would have really enhanced the story and made you be able to see multiple sides to the story. So I think it definitely did suffer in that aspect by having the first person perspective. And also sometimes I just wanted to punch Farrah in the face. I was like, girl, we get it. Like, I'm good.
No, yeah, I agree. And I've said this before. I think this book, like the series in general, really suffers from being in first person point of view, because even in the battle scenes at the very end, you just see every like Farrah and like more just like standing on the sidelines, just watching everything happen instead of being firsthand at the battle. And I feel that's why the final battle felt so anticlimactic for me versus the battle in Adriata. I don't know how that freaking the Summer Court's pronounced, but I think that battle to me felt so much more engaging because Farrah was fighting and we were seeing everything as it was happening. And I was thrilled reading that. But the final battle, I was just like, what's the point of Farrah just staring, doing nothing? Like, I just don't care.
Yeah.
So I definitely would watch this.
I would always run into the cereal. I'm like, can you figure something out on your own? Like,
okay, that part.
I was like, huh? Like, okay, I get it. In the first, I feel like in ACOTAR, the meeting with the cereal was cool because of the whole like stay with your high bay or whatever it was, and she thought that was Tamlin, but it was really Rhys, so that was cool. But in this third one, there wasn't any point. The cereal.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the Suriel was definitely like one of my favorite characters in ACOMAF. Like, I freaking love the Suriel. In this book, I mean, I really did get emotional when he died and he was like, leave the world a better place than it is right now, Farrah. Like, you know, do your thing. I was like, that's, you know, the fact that the Suriel is like, you know, giving her like the head go, like, you do you, boo. I freaking love that moment. But I think in this book, which is something that we haven't even talked about yet, the Bone Carver and Striga and freaking Bryaxis were literally like my favorite characters in this whole thing. Like the fact that they called on the monsters to help them in battle because they couldn't compensate elsewhere was my favorite thing. The Bone Carver is definitely like one of my favorite characters of like all time. And I'm sad that he died.
Yeah.
I freaking love it.
They could kill the monsters, but everybody else lives. I was like, how are the monsters? They're supposed to be all this powerful. I'm like, how they die in like 2 pages? Like, huh?
Okay, but like this, I knew this book got me when I was genuinely sad when the Suriel and the Bone Carver died. It's the way that I kind of cared more for the deaths of these people than whomever was almost dying in the battle.
Yeah, for the Suriel's death. I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that coming. I was like, what? Like the Suriel did nothing to nobody. Like,
I mean, she had to kill someone, so it wasn't
right. She had to kill someone, so she freaking killed the Bone Carver. Again, one of my favorite characters. Striga, like the Weaver, and then Bryaxis is just out there doing his own thing. Like Bryaxis is out there causing mayhem in his own way. Like, okay, sure, Bryaxis, live. Don't come back. And I also, with Bryaxis, I freaking love that Rhysand is intentionally leaving him out there instead of caging him back in. Because in ACOFAS, Azrael is like, should I hunt down, like, you know, Bryaxis? And he's like, nah, he's fine. I'm like, okay, let him live. The one character who deserves to live. Let him do his thing. God damn. If this world didn't die, Ianthe wouldn't have been killed by Striga. Iconic freaking moment, okay? Ianthe dying and the King of Hybern dying, 10 out of freaking 10. And I love the way that it was done. Yeah. I will never forget that just satisfying moment of like me reading this book for the first time and freaking Nesta just holding up the head of the King of Hybern.
She was like, freaking hate you.
Okay, she was like, freaking die. And just holding his head like,
Uh-huh.
I was like, get it, sis. Get it.
You got it. Like, you deserve it. Okay.
And the illustrations for that are freaking fantastic. Like, I love it. I also wrote this down, like that moment of realization that Lucian has when he starts differentiating. That's when he like starts pondering over the Night Court, and he starts kind of seeing what his ideal life would have been in the Spring Court and what was sold to him versus what he got and what could have been. I think that's when he kind of snapped out of it, when he started seeing, did we have a solstice in this book? Did we? Or I can't remember what moment of realization it was where they were having some sort of party that Lucian was like, so this is what I could have had, huh? And it was just really interesting to me to see him kind of snap out of it. But
I remember.
Yeah.
What they were celebrating. But yeah.
Yeah, they celebrate too much. I don't remember if it was.
I remember they'd be always having like a bottle of wine, drinking wine, like with every meal, like celebrating. I'm like, why are you celebrating another day of survival? Like, what's happening?
Honestly, if they would have celebrated, more power to them. Live your life.
I'm here for it because gotta do what you gotta do.
Yes. Also, I think this was my first moment when I realized that this book was too plot convenient. That moment where the King of Highburn breaks the wards is like, he can only use this spell once. He only has this spell. It's the one spell, and he broke the wards and he attacked us. I was like, just one time, just one spell, just right now when you guys are, huh? Mm-hmm. That was like my first moment of being like, interesting. How did not one main character die?
I was like, because
he did die. He just came back.
Right. I was like, I have a feeling like, I don't know. That's why I'm like, if you're writing a book about war, like somebody important has got to die. Which is why, I mean, we're not talking about the Poppy War, but I mean, that's why
I just thinking that give me pain. That's what I want.
Give me pain. Okay. And I was like, this is what I need to be reading if I'm reading about war. Like, obviously somebody important's got to die. So I was ready for that kind of energy in this book, and it wasn't giving me that.
Yes, I freaking agree. I cried only for the surreal, iconic. Truly. Okay, but when we realized the Bone Carver, okay, so this is something that I talked about in the ACOMAF live show, because we see that first moment where Feyre sees the Bone Carver, and she's like, huh, he looks unusually similar. And in this book, it's the one time where we truly get to understand why he looks so similar. And Feyre's like, huh, that's my kid.
Yeah, I kind of peeped that. I kind of guessed that in ACOTAR, whenever they first met with the Bone Carver, and that was how he like appeared to her. I was like, that's probably somebody's kid. Like,
yeah,
somebody's kid.
Absolutely. Knew the first time in ACOMAF. Yeah, it was just
yeah, exactly. I was like,
the description was like, oh, those are Reason's eyes, and like that's like
I was like, okay,
I was like, you're not slices. Like, I know what you're trying to do. Like, that's a kid.
Yeah, that's your kid.
Yeah. Cool, like sucking souls or whatever else dimension she's doing before returning to his window. Okay, you already know. When we first see Valaris and the children laughing, those moments are really always beautiful. Can we talk about more coming out? It's the way that I have read this book so many times, and I still forget that this is a moment in the book.
Yeah.
And I mean, they just had dinner. Just saw this comment. As a queer woman, I hate how SJM writes queerness, but I don't think it's malicious at all. She just doesn't know better. I agree. And like, that's my thing. Of being like, we've had 2 entire books, like 2.5 books technically, of Azriel and Mor just being pitched as like something that was, or something like could have been, and like Mor sleeping with all of the men and whatever, and then her being like, oh yeah, like no, like I had this partner and like this woman that I really, really loved and adored, but it just didn't come to be. I'm just like, is that really the best that can be done in regards to the rep for queerness? Because if you really wanted to go out there, you could have just gone all out, because we see her doing that in freaking Crescent City. So it's like, you could have just done the same thing with Mor and just let her all out embrace herself.
Yeah, I kind of was like, I mean, I'm not part of that community, so I can't really speak on it. But in my opinion, I just felt that it kind of fell short in my opinion reading that, as I read other books with queerness in it. So I was kind of like, where did that come from? Like, there was no hint to me that Mor preferred women. But hey, I agree. Like Sarah J Maas was probably like, I gotta have some type of a non-heterosexual sexual character in this book. And that's how she chose to do it, which I was like, okay, but
Yeah, I agree. It definitely felt like an afterthought, especially after everything that we'd kind of seen with them before.
Yeah.
And there was also another thing that I peeped in this book, which I'd never really seen before. And while I was reading, I think I was talking to Jaleesa about this. I was like, I really don't know how to feel about this one comment in particular. And that was when Helion was talking about the affair he'd had with the lady from like the freaking Lucian's mom.
Yeah.
And the line that was dropped was staying out of her own will in an abusive relationship. Like he was just saying how he had to give her up because she was staying in an abusive relationship because she just wanted to be abused. I was like, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I don't think it was done maliciously, but like also you can't just drop signs of an abusive relationship and just drop it like that. So I was just like not into that one line for that in particular.
Yeah.
But also, I think one of them is. I just can't remember which one.
The High Lord of the Day. No, the Dawn. Thesian.
I can't remember his name, but there is one because there is the mention of him having a male mate.
Yeah.
So there is at least one. Again, could be better.
And then Helion, he
sees both ways. Yeah, he's like, I'll do whatever. I'll do my thing.
Right.
But I don't think anything is said explicitly to the point where it's just like dropped here and there, like casually, like in passing, like, oh yeah, what about a threesome with you guys? I'm like, so like, huh? We're just expecting.
In that case, I just felt like that relationship was that dynamic was kind of just more sexualized instead of it being like a real discussion. Yeah. The fact that he's bisexual is kind of just like, let's have some sex, you know? So in that case, I was kind of like, Moore's coming out was done better than that one, of course. But yeah.
Absolutely, yes. There are problematic elements to the rep in Throne of Glass and Crescent City too, but like I said, I don't think it's malicious. Yeah, I just think when you look at YA books or like new adult books that were published in between like 2013 to like 2017, it was kind of the norm to see that in those genres, despite whatever you were reading. And it's sad that that was the reality. And you can definitely see that pull through in these books. That's his name. But yeah, you can definitely see that come through. And that's part of the reason why I also lowered my rating, because I was like, I'd never realized any of those things before. And I don't really vibe with them in ACOWAR. And there were a lot of things being mentioned left and right like that. So that was also something that I personally didn't like with this book. So yes, let me see what else I have written down in here, because I don't even know what else. Oh, we haven't even talked about freaking Elaine being a seer. I forgot about that.
The way that, to me, her being like a seer or just some type of like sidekick was low-key obvious.
Yeah.
Like, oh, she's going crazy. She's speaking in riddles. I was like,
oh yeah, she was like, the two ravens will come. With the feathers of fire. I was like, y'all are so freaking dumb. Or you're not realizing that she can freaking see the future.
Right. Yeah. She was obviously talking about like, oh, the call. I see the old lady or whatever she's talking about, old ladies and stuff. I was like, come on. And then they were like, she's a seer. I can't believe. I was just like, not it being like some big reveal.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, is no one gonna question? Like, she's just gonna say these things and y'all are gonna be like, oh, whatever, it's just Elaine doing Elaine things. Like, what are we do together?
Yeah, this part, she was that like,
too. Yes.
Literally just so down. She was like, two ravens are coming, one white, one black. I'm like, sis, like, are y'all really, how can Rhysand do like a whole ass plot to like bring down courts and he can't even realize that she's a freaking seer? Is giving me 6.
Yeah, and like, she was helpful, I guess, in terms of the attack in the library. But like the fact that they didn't know that she was a seer before then, it really didn't help because they still got attacked in the library. So it's kind of like, okay, like, yes, you figured it out that she was actually telling you what was about to happen. And then I guess in the ending, like when Nesta was like, Cassian, don't go over there. I was like, shouldn't that have been Elaine over here with the spear?
It's done here. She's saying riddle.
That's
It's like they've been alive for 500 years. You can tell, like, you're trying to tell me they can't figure out that she's a freaking seer. Something don't add up.
yeah, that's too.
Something don't add up. I can see SJM extending the series further and eventually giving each character their own books to add elements she couldn't add in previous years. I mean, the series is meant to be 6 books, so we only have 2 more books after ACOFAS. I just don't know whom they're going to be.
Wait, there's going to be 6 of them?
Yep.
I thought there's just one more.
No.
We really might get a Tamlin or Elaine book, huh?
I mean, I do think I would love for there to be like an Asriel book. I'd freaking love that. But there's also
he's not in these books like at all. Like he's
that's why like I need to know more, and he has like a whole ass backstory that we barely know because he doesn't talk about it. So that's something interesting to explore. There's also been people dropping that maybe she'll release a Moore book. I don't want to read about Moore. Moore is a snooze fest. I don't want that.
Read about Moore. I don't. Because her little chapters in ACOFAS or anything, like I didn't like her chapters. Like kind of boring. ACOFAS. So.
Yeah. I agree. Let me see what I have here for. Okay, yeah. I guess with ACOFAS and like the conversation with that, I think this is where we can start like dropping our theories for like ACOFAS for ACOFAS, sorry, because I feel like that's the one moment where you start reading kind of outside of the like the conflict for ACOTAR that you get to see what is being established for the next book. So the first theory that I wrote down, which again, I definitely would have like peeped if I hadn't read like anything before, was one, obviously the conflict with like the queens. Like that's like the main thing. Like that's going to be the conflict for ACOFAS. And we definitely see that being established in this book and how like everything's in shambles and how they left freaking, what are the names? I already forgot. The freaking lands that allied with Hybern. What are they? Freaking Valahan, Montessori, and Rask. I really think, and I'm going to talk present time as if I haven't read ACOFAS. I really do think that those 3 freaking states, countries, whatever, are going to play a role in ACOFAS and in later books, as well as the human queens in general, because there's still, again, this got mentioned a lot in ACOWAR and ACOFAS about the one queen that was turned old instead of getting like her immortality as she wanted it to, because she was punished by the cauldron. So those are definitely going to be like big plot points for ACOFAS that, again, if you haven't read ACOFAS, you'll probably be a little bit confused going into ACOFAS. So I like the fact that that was dropped in there. This is great at Dumb Genius because I thought the same thing during ACOTAR when Farah didn't get the damn role. Okay, it's the way that I would be as dumb as Farah because I really thought the answer to the riddle was Amarantha.
I had no idea. I was like, I'm not even gonna try because I read it and I was like, I don't know. But it was love, right?
Yeah.
I was not gonna come to that conclusion.
Oh, Naeem, I know what you're talking about.
Oh, interesting.
I know what you're talking about. I mean, I wouldn't. Sure, a novella. Sure.
No more.
No more for me. But yeah, also another thing that I peeped in ACOFAS that I was just like, interesting. Cassian being jealous of like Farah and Rhysand was just interesting to me because I feel like they're all so tight. I can't really see a scenario where Cassian would be jealous of them. Like maybe kind of wanting to seek out a relationship similar to theirs, but not necessarily the word jealous. That's a strong emotion. Moore is basically Alice from Twilight. Yes, we talked about this. Definitely in the ACOMAF live show when she first meets Farah and she's like, "Oh my god, hi!" I'm like, Alice. You're Alice.
Yeah.
Twilight. You are. Maybe, I mean, seeing it now with even the twins, I'm like, did she draw some sort of inspiration from freaking Twilight? Because there's a lot in here that kind of reads like it. I don't think book 5 is going to be Cassian and Nesta again because she said that every single book was going to follow different characters and like they're like 2 characters together are going to be like self-contained one book. So definitely follow a different set of characters. And again, here's where I go into saying I wish everything would have been written in third person all freaking along, because it suffers from not being that way. Also, like, this is just me talking about like all of the things that I peeped in ACOFAS that were interesting to me and that I feel are going to come back up. Again, I don't know if I was the only one, but As can move without winnowing, which was interesting to me because I always thought that Asriel could winnow. So I really need some sort of explanation as to how that works in some sort of way, because that power of his, like being a shadow singer, like, is that a whole ass race of people, or is that just him like befriending the shadows in his cell, and so they took a liking to him and like attached themselves? Like, I need to understand how exactly that happened, because I don't think
that's why we want an Azrael story, an Azrael book.
Yeah,
I'm sure we would dive into that theory, or at least like more of his background and how he became to acquire his powers that he has now.
Yeah, I think I would definitely be interested in just his story, because I didn't even think about why he couldn't win or like why he didn't win. So it would definitely be interesting to explore that. And I feel like he's a character we really don't know about. Like, he's always there lurking, but I feel like I don't know anything about who he is as a character. So I would love to read a book about him.
Yeah, I also agree on that. And then the other theory that I have is we see a lot of mention of Cassian's mom being dead, especially in ACOFAS, because we again get to see like third person omniscient on him for the first time. But there is no freaking body. They never let him see any body. They never let him like bury her or anything. So I'm like, is Cassian's mom really dead, or is she alive somewhere and we don't even know?
The way I never think about any of these things, but
no, I don't be going to no books with no type of theories. I be going there with vibes. And Mel be going in with notes. Okay. Like, she'd be like, like, I got my notes of theories, and I'm sitting here like, I'm just gonna start Silver Flames tomorrow. Like, I have no theories.
Okay, don't worry, I'll give them to you. I'll hand them to you.
I just know there's gonna be a lot of smut, and I'm here for it. That's all I know.
I'll give them to you. But the other thing that, again, we kind of saw happen in ACOWAR, where like Elaine uses Truth Teller, which Asriel does not give to anyone. And then Rhysand kind of asks him in ACOFAS, like, could you ever like switch blades? Like, is there a possibility that you could gift this to anyone? I'm like, is Asriel gonna gift Truth Teller to Elaine at some point? Because I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I definitely feel, because you said that the next two books are gonna be like two characters paired, right? I definitely think it's gonna be Az and Elaine. Like, who else would be paired with Asriel unless it's Moore? But yeah. I don't think that wouldn't make any sense now that we know that what Moore's like prefers women. Like, I don't see that being a thing.
Yeah. And the other thing is, for the first time, we get to see Moore, and again, snooze fest. Like, I don't really care about Moore. But we get to see that first scene when Moore is nailed up in her stomach in the Autumn Court. And I feel like that first glimpse into her story is kind of foreshadowing for her own book, and I don't like it. I don't like it. That's a super interesting theory. I just don't know how we can address Cass's mom in someone else's book. Maybe she comes back up and she's like, I'm here, people. What's up?
Maybe it's for her book.
We just have an entire book on Cassian's mom.
Like, is this gonna be dropped at the end of like the next book, and then book 6 is gonna be Cassian's mom? You know, like, I'm back. Like,
oh my god, no, me adding Akos up to the cart with an only 8-week wait from Libby just because of this live show. It's worth it. In my opinion, it's freaking.
But I'm like, I'm about to end this live show and go read Silver Flames right now. Like,
yeah.
I'll wrap it up.
I'm like, have to go. Knowing I got 15 other things I need to do today, I'm gonna go at least read the first chapter.
Oh my god.
I just need to start.
But no, one line that I think this is probably my favorite line from ACOFAS is, truth is your gift, truth is your curse. And that was from the Moore chapter. I was like, damn. That was the one time that I was like, you kind of interesting, but I still wouldn't read it. So, yes, and also again, the Asriel thing. Born in a lightless, airless prison meant to break him. Instead, he had learned its language.
See, Mel be finding quotes. Okay, I just be reading again. Vibe. I don't. I don't be looking at no quotes like, ooh, that was good. I just be reading though.
I listened to the audiobook, so I was like, oh, that was nice. And then I moved on.
I'd be like, ooh, let me write this down.
Yeah, no, I literally have my phone with me when I'm reading. I'm like, let me take some notes for this.
I know. And I've been tabbing a couple of quotes, but it's never the same quotes as she be tabbing.
Yeah.
But yes, this could be interesting. Like his mom popping up at some point in the story, whether it's to help him out or maybe she's been like brainwashed or something, and she's like bad.
I mean, the comment
and maybe that stops him like mid battle. He's like, Mom.
Yeah. I mean, the comment that Leah wrote up just above there about Elaine as a seer, that could be next book could be Elaine and and then the end of that could be Elaine like, your mom ain't dead, Cassian.
Hey,
process that.
Y'all smart, okay? Because I like that one.
I like that one too. Also, a little bit of a foreshadowing moment, in my opinion, with Cassian and Emery, which is the girl that owns the little Illyrian shop for the Illyrian leathers. I'm like, she's definitely gonna come back up in ACOFAS and she gonna be friends with them. And I like it. I stand. We need more girls, okay? We need more girlfriends. Like it. I also wrote down, not gonna lie, why do I want a Tamlin story? I'm a hide in shame after saying that. It's fine. It's fine.
I don't need a whole story from him.
I mean, I don't want it, but would I read it? Yeah.
I will read it, but I will be sitting there just ready with my orange tabs, my angry tabs. Like, I hate you.
What if she's working with the queens? I think that would be interesting because I definitely feel like if, again, very graphically spoken, if she was beat up, maybe she's like chained somewhere against her will and she has been like a prisoner for like however many years.
I'm gonna need Cassian's mom to come back as a villain, because if she was the queen.
I love that.
Right, I would love that. Because
yes,
villains, and if she's working with, I see it.
Miriam and Drakon, I feel like I would have wanted them to pop into the book like earlier than they actually did, because we only see them in like that last battle and we see them for like 5 seconds and then they're like, and then they fly away.
I mean, I never really cared about Miriam and Drakon, if I'm being honest.
I didn't either.
Like, I didn't really care about them. Like, I really didn't even really care about Jurian.
Yeah, same.
So
I feel like that moment where they definitely come to help and they were like, my friends, we're here to help. Oh, you're so dumb. Didn't you know we were there all along? I was like, sure.
Yeah, and then they were like out here fighting Jurian. I'm like, listen, we don't got time for that right now. Y'all could deal with it. I was like, hold up. We got a war going on and y'all are here beefing. What is going on?
Yeah, I feel like that's like, I mean, they were there, like that's fine. It was cool when they showed up, but then they just left. So I don't really mind. They were there. Okay.
Yeah, I was kind of just like, okay, like, why are they here? What's the purpose? But
yeah, I agree. Not my dog growling at me. Hold up, let me grab her. Elaine's book, she's just dropping bombs about everyone things that she can see, and it would affect her relationship with everyone, especially Nesta, and it brings her closer to Asriel. I definitely agree. I feel like Elaine, why do I still have the book here? Hold up. I feel like Elaine definitely is dealing with some like inner baggage that she needs to like let loose. And I truly do think the only person who can help her do that is Asriel, because I feel like there's such a parallel there with the way that they grew up with the way that they are now, that I think the only one that can get her out of her shell without being aggressive is Asriel.
That's so true. Because at first it was like Elaine is bland, but now over here, like I kind of want to see what's going on in her mind.
Yeah,
I do believe that an Elaine Asriel book is necessary.
I know I might be taking back my words.
Right, I'm over here like, y'all are right. Like, yes, I would be here for that book.
I mean, again, we just have so many moments with Elaine and Asriel that are just so good that I don't see her being mated with freaking Lucian. Like even in the solstice scene in ACOFAS where she gives him his gift and she's like, oh yeah, this is so you can drink it at night and like sleep just so you don't stay awake for forever. And he laughs. I'm like, Asriel doesn't laugh. I love it.
And then didn't he give her like gloves? No, that was Lucian's gift, right? The gloves for gardening, was that Lucian's gift?
Yeah. Blam. He don't care. He's like,
I was like, everybody knows she likes to garden. Okay.
Okay, that part. It's like gifting. It's like somebody gifting you like a book. It's like, you know that I read. It's like, it's fine.
Right. It's kind of like, yeah, it's those other gifts that like somebody was paying attention to you and you only, and was like, I know that they're going to need this or they're going to want this, you know, as opposed to like, okay, yeah, I read, like, I have a YouTube channel. We all know this.
I know. I'm wondering, like, what if they were the only ones who took her in after everything that's happened to her, so she's turned against their own people? I like that for Cassian's mom. I really do. Elaine and the Surreal would have been the dream team. Okay, they really would have been the dream team. They do really have similar powers in a way.
True.
I love Az and Elaine, but I do want something a little more interesting than these three males ending up with the three sisters. Yeah. See, that's where my conflict comes in with Elaine and Azriel. I'm like, is she really gonna pull off the three sisters with the three brothers? Like, I don't really know if she's going to do that. But also, it's again the counter argument to that. It's like, is she gonna pull off the mate thing so many times instead of giving somebody a choice, which we've seen like foreshadowed in a way in Reese's like parents' relationship. So
okay, maybe they could just be friends who help each other get through their trauma, you know?
I really do feel like they were going to end up sleeping together. And maybe that's when they realized, like, you know what? This ain't for us.
Be like, you know what, buddy? Again, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, the other thing, I think this is the last thing that I peeped in ACOFAS is a Feyre and Rhysand baby. In that very last scene when they're in the cabin, and she's like communicating with him and she's like, I'm gonna give you a gift, wink, wink. And then she was like thinking about the baby with the bone carver. I was like,
and then homeboy Rhys did not take his contraceptive the next day. I was like,
what we're doing?
Like, we finna have this baby. I'm here for it. But it started since ACOMOS. Like, just have the dang baby. We already know what's gonna look like.
I kind of wish that didn't happen though. Like, I don't know. I feel like they talked about, Feyre and Rhys did, how Feyre wanted to live her life a little bit. And I'm like, that's so soon. And I know that Faye, like, it takes longer for them to conceive, so it might be a couple years. But I'm like, girl, like, you're living forever. You really want to have this baby now? Like, maybe wait a few years, a decade. Like, take your time. But yeah.
I know. It's like, she literally says, like, I want time with you, and 6 months later, she's like, pound into me. Here we go. Want a baby.
Like, okay, that was a lot going on in that scene. But then and that little subtle hint, like, and Rhys didn't take his contraceptive and he's not going to anymore. I was kind of like,
she gonna be a baby machine, okay? She gonna be a baby machine. Oh my god. I really want to see Elaine choose between a three-way mating bond, but at the same time, Tustushan really deserved to be hurt again. I agree with this, and that's why I'm always so conflicted with these things.
But Elaine isn't the love of his life. He's forcing it. Like, he needs to understand that he doesn't, like, I feel like if he understands that Elaine is not the one for him, he's not gonna be heartbroken. He's gonna free him. It's gonna be more freeing. Yeah,
and the thing is, he's not even trying. Like, you see in ACOFAS, he is deliberately staying away from her.
Yeah.
So if you really wanted that mating bond to happen, I think you do the opposite and try and bond with her in the most gentle way possible, instead of just being in the other side of the continent and just staying away.
Yeah. I mean, I understand him giving her space because that's what he thinks she needed. But I agree with you, Kristen. Like, I don't think they're meant to be together. So I don't think Lucian's going to be heartbroken. I think at the end of the day, he's going to realize and maybe find someone else that is better for him. Or he should just work on himself. I think that he just needs to learn how to be happy with who he is and know who he is, because he's very wishy-washy.
I mean, again, we see that in ACOFAS where he's like with the Band of Exiles, which is like Vasa and freaking Jurian. So I think that little group of people doing whatever they do will help him finally not be on this end of things and being like, you know, people's pawns, because that's what he is. And I think that'll really benefit him. So I think if they do end up exploring a mating bond between Elaine and freaking Lucian, I really do think it's going to be one situation where they try it on. They're like, we really have no chemistry. And there's that. Because I really don't see them having any chemistry.
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible at this point. It's like they're in the same room. I'm reading and I feel awkward reading about them. Like it feels unnatural for them to end up together. So I just don't really see it.
Exactly.
Yeah. There are major parallels between Farah and Reese and Edward and Bella, like legit. See, that's especially after reading ACOMAF and ACOWAR, I'm like, did she draw inspiration from Twilight? Because there are a lot of parallels there. I think he wants to explore it. He's giving her a space because that's what she needs and has asked for. Yeah, I guess.
I think he wants to explore it because he hasn't yet reached that moment where he realizes that he doesn't like her.
Yeah.
He's just like, he's kind of just like, this is my mate, therefore we need to be together. That's where he's at. And so he's like, I'll give her space so she can get it together and realize that this is the mating bond, you know, like, I feel like that's what's happening.
Hey, if I'm telling you, if they have a kid and freaking Tamlin sees the kid, it's game over for all of Prithian, okay? He gonna let all the enemies in. See, this is the part. I think I'd love for them to become friends, but like not be romantically involved. Also, I could totally see Elaine being one of those people that she's like, I don't want a relationship. I can totally see Elaine being that person too. So we shall see what happens with Miss Elaine. Not dealing with anyone, and I think that is this thing. I can totally picture her being like, I just want to explore me in this world and how I fit in here. I can totally see her having her own little shop of like, you know, psychicness. She's like, let me read you the freaking ball and like tell you what your future is. And her being like a cat lady, I can totally imagine Elaine doing that.
I feel like that'd be really like fun, but I also don't think Sarah J Maas is gonna write that.
Yeah, she's definitely not. Definitely not. I don't know. I think if he was still there trying to bond with her, we would wonder why he won't back off. I think the approach is all that matters and like how that's executed. Because if it was done in a way where they had chemistry, but you see her being reluctant, I really wouldn't mind reading it. But it's the fact that there's no chemistry there at all. Not at all. I mean, technically, yes, like the mating bond is about offspring, technically, like who produces the strongest kid. Like I think it was Farah talking to Rhysand that kind of like they were trying to figure that out. And they don't ever like, it's not meant to always click and be perfect. So yeah, it's not necessarily always romantic. So yeah, I don't know where that's going. See, I don't think Az and her have chemistry. I think they are strictly platonic.
Yeah.
Cammy, have you? I'm a text Cammy. Never mind.
I think they have chemistry just because Az and like Cassian, they have platonic chemistry. You know, I feel like it's different. And Farah, platonic. Like I don't know. I think Elaine just sees Az in a totally different way. Like sure, it could be platonic, but it's definitely a different type.
All I'm gonna say is, Cammy, you've read ACOFAS. You need to read Asriel's bonus chapter. Is all I'm going to say. And for everyone who's reading ACOFAS, you need to read Asriel's bonus chapter. It's out on the internet. You can find it, or not. If not, ask people for pictures. But you'll probably change your mind after reading that.
Okay,
is all I'm saying. But yeah, I think that's all that we have for today. I don't know if there's any like wrap-up thoughts that you guys have before we log off.
Nope, I'm just ready to read ACOFAS.
Same.
Okay, Kristen's gonna go into her blog and be like, "These are all my theories."
I'm like, so I have theories, and I was like,
"Oh my god, I love
theories from that in the chat."
Oh my god, I think that's yes, Cammy, message me. Yes. Okay, go read As's bonus chapter. That's all I'm saying. But yes, people, we're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you all for joining for this month. And again, the live show for A Court of Silver Flames will be next month on the last either Saturday or Sunday. I still need to figure that out. But you know, be peeping that date, them guests, because I will be announcing them soon. And yeah. Happy reading, everyone. Thank you to my lovely guests for joining me this month. It was super fun chatting with you all. And yeah, get ACOFAS. That's my only public announcement service for today. Get ACOFAS is all I'm saying. Is it okay? Goodbye, everyone.